Trojan family, what's going on? Welcome back to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Arguably the position that everyone is probably most interested in for the 2027 class or most curious about is probably defensive line. Linebackers up there. But we've talked a ton about defensive backs, talked a lot about wide receivers. We've talked some about the offensive line, which we'll get more to later. We haven't talked a ton about the defensive line outside of, Marcus Vaetoe and kind of when he released his top 10. So a new name has kind of emerged atop the USC leaderboard, if you will. And then I just want to give you a couple other kind of names to look for as it pertains to defensive line. And it's going to be interesting to see if the focus shifts at all now with Gary Patterson as defensive coordinator, now with Skylar Jones as defensive tackle coach, with Coach Nua kind of overseeing the entirety of the defensive line. Again, in my opinion, we don't have 100% clarity on his full role yet, but I don't think it's just edges anymore, in my opinion, especially when you promote A.J. Howard to outside backers coach. I've talked about that a bunch. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see how the defensive line recruiting kind of shifts or evolves a little bit, going from Coach Eric Henderson, like the top recruiter in the country, to kind of now this full-scale approach with Nua, with Jones, with Patterson, with Howard, potentially on that kind of edge outside backer look. So will be fun to watch. But the new name, or not really a new name, I guess, but a name that is looking good for USC is Khalil Vaetoe. If I'm saying that if I'm pronouncing that correctly, my apologies. But Khalil Vaetoe, defensive lineman from Cardinal Newman up in Santa Rosa, California. That's Sonoma wine country up there. And he told Adam Gorney of Rivals that USC is his top school. So I'll put the link in the description from Adam's reporting. But he says, my top school right now is USC. I did a workout more or less, and we did a lot of field work, and they set the expectation for me and said, this is where you need to be. And that gave me enough information as to where this is a top school. This is where I need to be, and this is the work I need to do. Other school that is probably the most in the running would be Cal. Obviously, being from Sonoma County, Cal Berkeley is really close to home for him. So they're kind of the hometown school and then with Tosh Lupoy, now they're the head coach, bringing a lot of that kind of Oregon culture with him. And he did attend their junior day at Cal. So that would be certainly, I think, number 2. Washington is another program to kind of look for in his recruitment as well. But for USC, they are at the top from his lips to my mouth to your ears. Vaetoe puts USC at the top. In terms of his ranking, Rivals has him as a 4-star prospect. He is the 40th ranked defensive lineman in Rivals industry ranking. Rivals alone has him as the 28th ranked defensive lineman. He stands at 6'4", 285 pounds. So again, for seeing where he'll line up, if he's going to be more that interior guy, we'll see if he puts on a little bit more weight or can be more kind of the 3-tech-ish, 3 or 5 tech in kind of this 4-2-5 scheme and plays more on the edge. Then he can probably stay a little bit at that weight, but with that size or with that height, you'd like to see him maybe slide inside a bit more. So that's looking good for USC. A few other names to throw at you. Just because, seeing where this recruitment is going in the defensive line room. Obviously, I've talked a ton about Marcus Vaetoe. I think that would be the gold prize. It's Notre Dame's to lose. He put out his top 10. Notre Dame, loses their defensive line coach, but I still think, and many of others thought this way as well, that they are the team to beat. And so it's going to be tough, but USC finally got in the running officially, recently, and, Sean New has built a good relationship with Vaetoe, so they will fight till the end to see if they can keep him home. I've heard a lot of questions about Cassie Curie, the 3rd-ranked defensive lineman in the entire class, plays at Sierra Canyon. I believe USC is actually recruiting him as an offensive lineman. Josh Hansen is the lead recruiter in that. So I haven't talked about it much, but I've seen some of your questions and I've commented back or tried to. But just to put that out there, I believe USC is actually recruiting Curie as an offensive lineman. And he's, USC is very much in the recruitment of him. Obviously, other schools are also recruiting him, but from a defensive line perspective, like I think Ole Miss is up there kind of towards the top as defensive line and others. But USC really firmly in the mix, but it actually, I think, is going to be for the offensive line. Guy I've talked about a bunch from Tustin High School, John Ione, or Ione, I think. Yeah, I always pronounce these wrong when I just start rambling through all of them. But, really solid player. He is the 22nd ranked defensive lineman in the class, 4-star, 6'3", 280. And USC right now kind of battling Washington, but certainly many, many other schools involved in that recruitment. Elijah Harmon is committed to Oklahoma. He's the 17th ranked defensive lineman in the class, goes to Inglewood High School here in the Los Angeles area. So he's committed, but I do believe USC will still kind of battle to try to flip him and keep him home, especially depending how their defensive line class starts to shape out. But since they have full openings right now, no DL commitments, I do think they have not given up on Elijah Harmon yet and could potentially see. Now, this was a guy that, Coach Henney was really building a relationship with, so we'll see this shift now with Skylar Jones and Coach Nua, how involved they'll be in order to try to flip him and keep him home. And then another one, Jeremiah Williams, also Tustin. I'm telling you, Tustin has a good squad this coming season in 2027. 6 foot 320. So here's your true, interior defensive lineman. When you look at that size, 4-star, 33rd ranked defensive lineman in the class, and USC, it feels as kind of like up at the top, maybe not the true leader or whatnot, but they are certainly at the top in his recruiting thus far. So those are a few names to give you. I'll do probably a deeper dive here coming up. And again, sorry, backtrack a little bit. Williams, again, lead recruiter Eric Henderson. So we'll see how this shifts if USC is still at the top now that it would be a new, position coach, if you will, and Skylar Jones and Coach Nua, if that will change anything, or if his relationship with USC and Lincoln Riley and, Skylar Jones is probably involved a little bit. He was Eric Henderson's right-hand man. So if that will change at all in where he has USC slated. But as of, a week or so ago, USC kind of at the top there for the Tustin product. So those are some defensive linemen. I think I'll try to do a deeper dive into, maybe my 10 favorite defensive line prospects. Most of these I just named were California prospects. Obviously, they're going to still recruit outside of the state as well. Guys like a Jamian Winfield, guys like a Luke Wayful, obviously edge, but still on that D-line, are not in state, and those are still top quality prospects that we're real happy USC has in the 26th class, 2 of their best. So maybe I'll do my 5 favorite California prospects, not even favorite, but 5 projected to commit, and I'll do 5 out-of-state kids that we're hearing USC is really pushing hard after. So I'll do something like that here in the coming days and get that out. But quick update there for you on that. And like I said, Khalil Vaetoe has USC at the top. Northern California prospect, really good defensive lineman from Cardinal Newman in Santa Rosa, up there in Sonoma County. Beautiful Sonoma wine country. So let me know in the comments below your thoughts on Vaetoe and his prospects, and also some defensive line prospects that maybe you're excited about, want to hear more about, want to learn more about, would like to see USC maybe pursue more. When we look at the construction of the 27 class, in my mind, the defensive line will have about 4 spots, and that would be tackles and edges, in my opinion. So not a ton of room when you consider how many they took in 26. It's going to be a lot smaller. So we're looking at potentially 2 tackles, 2 edges, 3 tackles, 1 edge, 3 edge, 1 tackle, whatever variation they ultimately go. I don't think it's going to be more than 4 across the entire D line. So going to have to be pickier. And so, who are you wanting to see them pursue. And like I said, I'll come out with that list of 10 here in the coming days. So appreciate you, family. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll be back with plenty more. As always, family, fight on. Hey, Trojan family, thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers, they've got live stat updates, they've got a chat that you can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose Jade Mayav in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USCLAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in 10, they'll match you that $10. So now you're sitting at 20 to play with. But also right now, for any new users, no deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free. Go make a deposit. Use USC LAFB. And now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family. And when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.